Let's talk about Rumble. We have this from corp.rumble.com. Rumble proposes an open source content moderation policy and process to improve transparency and put creators first. So for those that might not be familiar, maybe you're new to politics. I'm assuming it's probably a small percentage of people. Most will probably know this stuff.
Tim, one thing. This is exclusive to you. Released on independent media, not through the typical channels, just to add to the previous stuff.
Awesome. Right on. So obviously for those, YouTube has been big, but YouTube has banned people without warning. YouTube has censored information they don't like, and they've done very shady things. If we want to have open and honest conversations, we need to be able to be on platforms that are healthy and robust. So with Rumble, which is, how would you describe it? A video hosting service?
The way to describe Rumble, we're a platform that's with two different things, both video and cloud now. So we're going to be pushing cloud a lot in 2023, but we're a video platform, an open and free video platform that's going to protect the free and open internet as much as possible.
Truth Social uses Rumble infrastructure.
It does. Yeah, they're entire. Actually, when they opened up the floodgates, when you were able to come on, it was because they moved over to the Rumble cloud.
And Timcast.com uses Rumble's infrastructure for our video player on the members only section of the show, which is Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. Sign up to become a member. That's right. But all of the hosting, the entire website is built on your guys' infrastructure because we have to build something that is an alternative to Silicon Valley's monopoly on the space. And it has to be resilient to censorship. It has to be competitive. I think you guys are. So let's talk about what this move was. Trying to make the rules more fair, better, and this helps you compete, but it's also better for the people.
Yeah, so this was completely inspired by your show. We took a lot of flack with our terms and conditions. You put it up there 6 months ago, and I was like, shit, this thing hasn't changed for a long time. And it's, we went through a time period of 8 years when I came on in January where, things changed a lot. And the way we've kind of built our track record over the last 8 years is based on terms and conditions where we didn't move the goalposts and we kept really, really sturdy. We didn't change the definitions of certain things, and our track record proved to be really good. We don't ban for things that don't make sense, and we're not doing what YouTube's doing. But the terms said we could ban you anytime we want for anything we want, however we want.
We had this conversation. A lot of the rules were very similar.
With the exception of all like the misinformation stuff that YouTube talks about.
Viva and Barnes, you guys, you came up with a plan or something, or what happened?
So it's the same plan that I talked about with Twitter, 5 years ago. And with Twitter, it talked about being amenable to and then backed out at the last minute, which is you can create a space that protects a free and open internet without being bombarded by trolls and haters and harassers and stalkers and doxers and defamers. You can have something that is a free and open space, free both from censors and free from stalkers. And the rules are right there. The rules are there in American law. The rules are there in jury instructions. The rules are there already laid out. You're not supposed to have discriminatory misuse or abuse of a platform. Because of Section 230, there hasn't been a lot of U.S. litigation, but there are ways in which you can create rules that are a desirable community that maximizes freedom of speech. Like right now, you can go to Rumble, and if you want to get independent free information, like we did an interview with Dinesh D'Souza on 2000 Mules, we can only do it on Rumble. But you can create a space that is free for those kind of discussions, that you can have heterodox opinions, that you can have heretical opinions, and be completely free to share those with your community. And at the same time have rules that are not only consistent with that, but are also open and transparent. The other aspect of this was have an appeals process that matters. What frustrates a lot of people is that they get suddenly banned without notice, without knowledge, without means of a meaningful appeal. Happened to Eric Hunley, Unstructured podcast, and all he does is just interview interesting people. So the goal was let's create an appeal process that works and that's manageable. And that's where Viva helped create a lot of those because he's been through that process, knows other people that's been through that process. Also make it participatory. We've had American democracy for about 300 years. And the goal is to, we've learned that an open, transparent, participatory process produces the best result and best outcome. It's not only about the free market of ideas, it's about letting the ordinary person participate. What we were talking about earlier, that's who often gets targeted for suspension and banning on social media. It's the ordinary person. That's why these rules are just proposed rules. People can actually look at these rules and say, we see a problem here. We think this could be improved. There's actually an email set up that they can actually email in their ideas, their suggestions, their comments, make this process as best as possible, and ultimately have a community and content creator jury that will help adjudicate these processes. So the goal is, let's create something that will work for the entire big tech universe. Let's create the model. Chris has been willing to open source these rules so anybody can borrow them, anybody can copy them, anybody can imitate them. This is about making the free and open internet free and open again.
The jury system, I think, is interesting. Minds implemented something similar. Minds.com, M-I-N-D-S. It's so hard to say because it sounds like you're saying Minds.
It sounds like you're saying Minds.
Yeah, M-I-N-E-S. M-I-N-D-S. They had a system where if someone posts something that is a violation of the rules, they have moderators. If you post something that's like illegal content, like, child abuse and stuff, it gets nuked. If you post something, and it's like, maybe that's violence or whatever, it gets sent to a jury of users, and then they're asked to vote on it. And then I'm not exactly sure how it works, but then they can vote, yeah, this breaks the rules. If it does break the rules, all that happens is they put a filter on it that says not safe for work. Anything that would instantly have to be removed for like law breaking and stuff is removed no matter what, because that's just law breaking content. But as for the community guidelines, the worst that can happen, I believe, is they just put a filter on it where it blurs the image and then you have to choose to see it. So you don't even get banned for posting, hateful stuff or anything like that.
Yeah, you run into the issue about people posting their own criminality or things along those lines. But so full disclosure, one thing, Robert and I have been working with Rumble for these terms for a little while, but we don't like Rumble because we're working with them. We're working with them because we like them. And I knew Rumble since 2014 when I was just posting cat videos type things, and they were just a video hosting platform and licensing agency. What they're doing now is amazing and important because people are getting shafted left, right, and center on YouTube. They're getting soft censored into discussing only the things that YouTube will allow them to. When we have certain controversial figures on, and those are, by the way, doctors. I had to do one interview specifically on Rumble with Dr. Francis Christian because YouTube, I knew it was going to happen on YouTube. But other people say, like, well, I want free speech on the internet. That means running around and saying, racial expletives and whatever. And that's not what freedom of speech in the meaningful sense on the internet means. What it means is that you have objective, clear-cut rules that are not going to be weaponized for political and narrative-driven purposes. So, hashtag learn to code is not going to be tolerable when the left says it, but when the right says it, it's a call to violence banning.
Right.
And so that's what you have to navigate with the internet. I think we've done it. I mean,
We've created the same rules that for public squares that exist all across America. They have rules, right? You can't go to a local public square and do pornography, do obscenity, try to attack somebody. You can't do any of that. So we just took those rules.
Some cities these days, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. If
Have you been to San Francisco?
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, there you get it at little kids reading, book story time. Surprise, surprise. But the goal was to take what those historic rules have been and apply them to the digital public square and make it as transparent and open as part of the process. But people can continue to partake and participate in this. If they think there's improvements we can make, that Rumble can make, they're invited to do so. This is the beginning of a participatory process to return the internet to its roots of being open and free.
I dig it.
No, it's great. And the sort of, call it board review or community review, it works when the community doesn't get radicalized, when it doesn't get filtered down through its own soft censorship. And so, people who love the community want to preserve it. They're going to preserve it, and they're going to preserve it so that they can all speak freely.
This sounds good, but how does it work? How are you going to implement it and put it into action? Who's going to be making the calls about what is allowed and what is not?
So it's a threefold process. So one is the actual rules themselves, to make them open, transparent, easily accessible. That's what's being posted, I believe now, already up at Rumble.
If you scroll up on the...
Because if you break a YouTube rule, YouTube doesn't really tell you which rule you broke or why or what you could do for any possible redemption.
And that goes to the second part of the process. So we helped first design the rules. There's also going to be posting guidelines of how we're interpreting and applying these rules, just using jury instructions, using things that ordinary jurors use every day in terms of the rules. But the rules are really simple, straightforward, accessible. They use identified legal terms throughout the United States for which we have 200 years plus of history. Now, the second part of the process was what you're talking about. How does it get adjudicated? How do you get notified of it? Who decides? What role do you have in responding to it? What do you know who the jury pool is consistent of? Or is that a publicly disclosed list? That's what Viva took lead on.
Bottom line, you have your clear-cut rules. There's automated stuff for copyright, trademark. Other than that, if a community member, a user, flags something, there's going to be a first review by Rumble, and if they determine it's okay, it'll continue. There will be flagging for people who to avoid brigading, to avoid what I suspect happens a lot on YouTube. People don't like your stuff, so they just go randomly and with impunity flag it. If people flag too many things that are deemed to be unfair flagging, they'll suffer the consequences. So it'll create a sense of responsibility.
Will they be downranked in the algorithm, or how will their account be punished for abusing the system?
Ultimately suspended and barred if they continue to do it.
If they just continuously flag and wrongly flag content that Rumble and or the community determines is not flag worthy, they'll get strikes to the point where they'll get suspended or permanently banned. Although even Chris has a big heart, there will be no permanent bans except for egregious stuff. It'll be a year ban if you violate, over and over and over again to the point where you break the rules, which are going to be clear. If you don't like them, that's going to be the other bottom line is the rules are there. It's not a lawless society. If you don't like the rules, that'll be your decision. But one thing you can rely on is that they're not going to be politically weaponized to go after one side of the ideological spectrum and immunize the other.
And you'll be given specific notice on which rule is being alleged to be violated. You'll be given an opportunity to respond, to Rumble. After that, if you don't like it, you can appeal it to the community board. The community board is going to be fully publicly disclosed. There will be content creators and members that are invested in the idea of Rumble as a free speech platform. They will make a review, and you have an opportunity to oppose them. And even then, if it's a first offense, that only leads to the content being taken off.
What about sentencing? After you're convicted of breaking the rules by the court.
And then there's a structured process. You have to violate it, I think, 4 times within 6 months before you face any kind of deletion of a channel. And even then, it's only for a year time period.
So 4 strikes, because you were talking about a strike system.
Are you talking about
4 strikes?
There's two different processes. So one that we're really changing here that I really like is the copyright thing. We're going to give everybody an opportunity to take down the video if there's a copyright or challenge it before it's taken down, before an actual strike is applied to the channel. Unlike on YouTube, you can get like 3 or 4 strikes and your channel's gone. So we're going to give the creator an opportunity to appeal it right away without applying any strikes, give them a 12 to 24 hour period to figure that out. That's on the copyright side. On the policy takedown side, if you look at the policies, they're all related to like unlawful conduct. But let's say you do a bunch of things that are wrong. If it's egregious, then obviously there's going to be no forgiveness. But if there's nuance to something, then you're going to be able to come back within a year.
What does no forgiveness mean? Permanent ban?
Yeah, when we first went through it, it was permanent bans for people that break the rules 4 times within a 6-month period. But then I said I was talking to both of you, and I really felt like there has to be a way and a path to forgiveness.
Because
everyone gets forgiven, and
even murderers, you can get 25 years after killing someone and still get let back out and join society.
That is only based on whether or not you believe in reform for the ones you want to reform, but other ones it's immediately permanent banning and being kicked out of society.
Right. I suppose there would be a life sentence. You know what I mean? And I think posting child abuse photos should be like a certain life sentence.
And that's what we've come to, right? So but we're like I said, these are just proposed. We don't want to make these changes to the community until we feel the community is fully on board with it. And this is our first step towards going towards that, because it is moving. It's the first time we're going to move the goalposts, but I think we're going to move the goalposts in the opposite direction.
And really, they're trying to take their rules and comply it with what they've been doing for the last 8 years.
It goes very in line with our track record.
The big question I hear from a lot of people is UI update when?
Yes. It's on the iOS app now. So you can see the new UI on the iOS app, and the website that'll be coming in the coming months.
Cool. So it's looking good, I guess.
It sounds like something that we used to have in the U.S. legal system called due process.
Exactly.
We don't really have that anymore. We have a lot of political
freedom of
prosecution,
expression, freedom of speech, freedom of press, due process of law, jury trial rights. All these ideas we've borrowed from to incorporate in the big tech space to restore the public square to the internet.
So these are the proposed rules. Who's going to decide that these rules and content moderation is going to be moving forward? And are you guys specifically saying you can't say this political ideology is not allowed, this is okay, this is not? Is this the process?
So what we have posted up there is pretty much what we're proposing right now, and we're gathering feedback. You can email us. There's an email posted there where you can send us feedback in what you like and what you don't like, so we can take that back. But one of the things I really want to do is, I've founded Rumble. I've run Rumble, but I'm not a creator that focuses on law. I don't have a law degree. Like, who am I to really put this together? And the best thing I could think of is coming to creators that have law degrees and understand free speech better than anyone else to suggest something.
Is there a political ideology that's off limits? Like, if like a group signed up, you'd be like
no.
But
I mean, it's designed, if you're making illicit content, so like the Klan and the Antifa tends to make illegal content, but there's no ban on the Klan, there's no ban on Antifa, there's no ban on anybody. I mean, like I still think the best measurement for whether a platform is consistent about freedom of speech is Alex Jones on that platform. Alex Jones has had zero problems on Rumble. That's shown there. And even when Senator Scott from Florida came after him because they allowed RT to be on Rumble, Rumble didn't change their position. So even when the United States Senator from the state that Rumble is partially located in came after him, they stayed with it. So I was only willing to invest my time if Chris was sincere. And Chris was clearly sincere because I've been passionate about this for more than half a decade.
I gotta say, I think sincerity is great, but the reality is this is the market opportunity. If you're trying to grow a business, this is how you do it.
Well, you imagine, take YouTube as a specific example where they have as a rule for content, we will deem misinformation, remove, strike, and penalize channels for suggesting anything that runs afoul of what the WHO is saying right now. And bear in mind that the WHO, the World Health Organization, has, depending on the year, said both A and not A, or both A and B.
A and B.
And so you don't even know what the rule is going to be on the going forward basis.
Let me tell you, I had a meeting with Google not that long ago, and I said, I advise all young people to start on Rumble because while the audience size certainly is much smaller, your opportunity for growth is much larger. You're more likely to find you're going to find an audience faster, and you're less likely to have your business destroyed due to arbitrary rules. And I said, I got to be honest with you. I don't know what the rules are, and I read them every day. It's remarkable because I have seen people get banned for one thing and not something else. I have seen a prominent left-wing podcaster call for an act of terror, and he got a strike. Is that it? I know another guy who had his entire channel deleted because he did black comedy. That's it. He broke no rules. He was monetized. And they just delete his channel outright with no warning, with no strikes, purge.
This was my own, like I've been on YouTube before I was really focusing on Rumble, but since 14. This was my initial experience with what I call YouTube chicanery. It was the Alex Jones deposition video. All I did as a lawyer, total cringe, stood on the roof of my house with sunglasses breaking down an Alex Jones deposition. I didn't know that AJ was persona non grata on YouTube. I do it. The video gets like close to 250,000 views. Then they pull it, or they demonetize it. Then they pull it, and then I notice I got a term of community guidelines violation for hate speech. So the video's gone. All that's left is when you click on it, community guidelines violation for hate speech, and it was. And then it comes back on 2 weeks later, and it gets remonetized.
Senator Rand Paul was speaking on the Senate floor.
Yep.
C-SPAN published the video, and YouTube took it down.
Unbelievable.
YouTube, you are psychopaths.
And then let's also be honest here. If there's a big brand, a big business, or the corporate media, they get the front door at YouTube. They get walked right in. They get pushed in the algorithm. The trending videos, that's the videos that of course, are connected to the biggest businesses that are connected to their Google advertisement businesses and revenue. So there's already a clear bias. If you're an independent media creator, and I wanted to bring this up with you guys, when you're on YouTube, there's no way the algorithm is going to be playing you any favors unless you have big money. That's why Rumble is such a good alternative, as well as the other alternatives out there. But who decides what's going to be in the algorithm? Last time we talked about let people see what they want to see. If they're subscribed to something, let them see it. How is the algorithm going to be shaped to what Rumble is going to be showing people? How will independent creators fare in that kind of ranking system?
So the way it is right now, it's just chronological. So as far as an algorithm goes, it's chronological by time. I think the important thing to do, and I think Ian mentioned this last time, is have these algorithms open sourced.
Yeah.
If we do deploy an algorithm right now, because it's chronological, there's really nothing to open source other than time.
Isn't there a challenge though that if they know how the algorithm works, they'll game it?
There is. So like the way you can game a chronological algorithm is just keep putting content out constantly and flooding the feed. So like that's one way to do it. But like isn't on the viewer? If you're flooding the feed, don't follow them. So you cut back on who you follow. This is how we were running social media 10, 15 years ago. But we all went towards these engagement-based algorithms that amplify content based on engagement, and that changed everything and changed the games. They figured out they can skew things. They figured out they could do things. I think if you keep it chronological, it's helpful, but that doesn't solve the problem for discovery. So in order to have discovery of independent creators, you're going to need to provide some kind of algorithm and some kind of mechanism. And what we want to do is have that discovery, like kind of like in a TikTok format, where you can kind of go through and scroll through content, and open source that algorithm, where that algorithm will be based basically on, how much you like a video, how much you dislike a video, and whether or not you have a preference for that video. So we're working on something like that right now, because discovery is super important to help find creators, and we should have something hopefully by the end of the year. It's already launched right now, but it doesn't have an algorithm in it. The algorithm is very basic. It's based on likes and the ratio of likes. That's it. And then the other way is through search, is just making sure your search is. We would like to open source that as well, and making sure that when you find something, you understand how you're placed in search. You're placed in search based on time, the velocity of views, and the context of the video. So the characters, the titles, the descriptions. It's very simplistic right now. And if it does become something more complicated, then open sourcing that is, I think, critical. But the discovery portion is the part that we all want to solve for, because once you nail that, and you give viewership to small creators, then you really have something special.
What about your Rumble's API? Are there going to be an option for people to develop on top of the software, embedding it, incorporating it?
So we already have that. So Rumble Player, which is going to be part of this Rumble Cloud business that we're building, has open APIs that you can use to search, find, and embed into other platforms.
Cool.
Awesome.
Sounds like everything's there, huh?
Yeah, it sounds...
Not yet. Still lots of work. There's a lot of work.
So we're done. We won. Everybody go home.
I never understood what algorithm is more relevant than like and
subscribe
retention rate. No, people watching a video and liking it. I can see from a monetary perspective engagement, even if it's negative.
YouTube had the problem where every video started with a guy screaming "smash the like button" for 30 seconds. And they turned it into a game, and then all of a sudden, all the top videos were just videos of people saying "smash the like button."
But that'll self-correct when people start downvoting that crap, because it's no longer fun to watch.
People wouldn't even click it. So there were people, like there literally just videos where a guy for a minute is like "smash the like button." The camera's like zooming in and out, and it would get 500,000 likes, and people who don't like it just don't click it. It dominates.
The issue with that as well is, like, it will self-correct from what we're seeing in the data, but the problem with it is that you're going to have a platform that has a genre of videos that everyone likes, and then a new person comes on and it's a completely different genre they're looking for. And how do you figure that out?
I will say one thing. The fact that YouTube, I've said it before, Robert will pontificate on this one day, when YouTube takes down videos from doctors on the basis of medical misinformation, I consider that to be practicing medicine without a license that YouTube is doing, arguably unlawful, in my humble opinion. Hashtag
I
no
agree.
defamation.
Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, for me, coming from a political space, the Rand Paul video removal was just mind-boggling.
And they're giving out wrong medical advice that is leading people to be hurt. Their assault on one particular medicine and labeling it an animal medicine has hurt a tremendous amount of human beings who rely on that medicine for other things.
Remember when, with the Roe v. Wade leak, Vice put out an article about how you can take animal medication and use it to induce abortion?
Yep.
Right. And then someone created a meme. Let me see if I posted it. Maybe it's on my Instagram, because I thought
people might not be appreciating the story that the same agency which said you're not a horse, yada yada. At some point later on, they're talking about what's the word? Not even homeopathic, alternative remedies. It's bizarro upside down
to induce abortion through horse medicine. So yeah, that's the level where we're at, and they're promoted in the algorithm. They're shown to everyone. You search a topic, they talked about it, they're going to be shown to everyone in the general public.
Yeah, it's called horse pill theory, and so it's from the Political Compass on Instagram, and like horseshoe theory. The left, it shows the motherboard article talking about taking veterinary medicine to induce abortion, and then it goes to the right, and it's the horse paste, and then in the middle it's BoJack Horseman. I just thought it was a brilliant meme. It's like, this is what you get in the modern era, I guess. But they didn't ban Motherboard for recommending people eat horse medicine. Please don't eat horse medicine.
Yeah.
I wonder if the FDA, did they put out a warning on that?
Well, I mean, the FDA is being sued because of their tweet about ivermectin. So deservedly so. But I mean, when you have people like Dr. Peter McCullough, you're talking about some of the most well-respected medical doctors in the world that are now being censored. Like, we're going to do an interview with him. We're going to have to do it on Rumble. We cannot do it on YouTube.
No, we're not. We're going to gleefully do it on Rumble so that I can actually ask the questions I want to ask. Same thing with Dr. Francis Christian.
We talked about this with the Twitter story, that these Twitter employees are listening to Elon Musk talk, and they're oblivious to the fact that he's there because of them, because of their political bias, because of their incessant need to silence people they don't like. They have created Republican Elon Musk. YouTube is doing the exact same thing. They are taking people. There may be someone who says, like you, Vivo, you're like, I'm going to do a video on Alex Jones and his deposition. They ban you. Imagine a new creator who's not political, and they say, oh, I'm in law school. I really want to talk about this. They get banned. They go, guess I'll go to Rumble. Now, what are they doing at Rumble? They're seeing nothing but all these big, prominent political creators who have been censored. Everything YouTube was trying to silence, now front and center for those people to see. They are pushing people into the information they claim they want to suppress. It's remarkable how insane they are.
Well, they've done that to Alex Jones. All the efforts to deplatform him have just led more people to be curious about what is he saying that everybody's so scared of him, and has led to more people going to InfoWars, more people going to InfoWars store, more people being engaged than almost ever before. Their efforts to and the irony is, I mean, Alex was seriously considering about retirement after 2016. He'd achieved extraordinary number of things over a quarter century, and then they decided to wage lawfare against him and decide to try to take him, deplatform him. And he's the kind of guy who doesn't go gently into that good night, And so he is here today, louder and stronger than ever before because of their efforts to destroy him.
And not just that, I will say, having spent some time on the interwebs, a lot of people are now realizing that Alex Jones was right more often than USA Today. And when he says things hyperbolically, he's still I don't want to throw my wife under the bus, but when one of the stories, one of the theories was that 5G towers are going to mind control you. And it was like, oh, that's garbage. When you understand that by that term, it just means interfere with sleep patterns. It could interfere with a form of your cognitive abilities. It's not control in a sense, but when you realize that he's hyperbolic, but relatively accurate on some things.
He would often take the story and then just take this little dot and stretch it out. So
he would dramatize it in order to get attention and the rest. Yeah. But people would ignore the underlying. Turned out they were trying to turn some of the frogs gay. I mean, it's that kind.
Well, that was that. So that's that. I love this story because the frogs gay thing was Alex talking about atrazine. I believe it was a pesticide, right? Was it a pesticide? And they said that it was interfering with the endocrine systems of frogs. All that meant was the frogs were becoming deformed or malformed. And then Alex, in his rant, says they're turning the friggin' frogs gay, and people literally believe that he was being literal when he said that. He was just doing an entertaining rant.
Exactly. It's much like Trump, that his audience doesn't take him literally. They understand the proverbial reference to it. But his deeper truth that you can't trust institutional people in power, the people who seek power, like Michael Malice's theory, are disproportionately going to be dangerous people, and we have to be constantly on the alert for them. But, it turned out everything he warned about, that they're going to use a pandemic to help lock down and strip us of our civil liberties, well, we've experienced that. That unique things might happen with elections, we've experienced that. That the mass censorship was coming through big tech control, we've experienced that.
I think there was also something about medical microchipping and
a YouTube moderator is watching this video is like, I'm going to ban this video right now. Can I do it now? Can I do it now? Barnes, keep going, Barnes.
Well, it's just legal. Again, that's the beauty of reporting information in lawsuits. Going back to Rand Paul, this is public sourced information. So if you are saying something in Congress, if something is said in court, it cannot be the subject of a libel lawsuit or anything else if you're fairly and accurately reporting what was in there. And so there's all this information, and yet now we can't even talk about things that are happening in Congress or happening in courts on YouTube. That's a level of insanity we've never seen.
When the Rand Paul thing happened, I had posted a video. It got taken down, and the weird thing about it is the video was still there. Someone messaged me, and they're like, hey, your video's gone, Tim. And I go into my studio on YouTube, and I look, and I'm like, it's right there. And then I hover the mouse over it, and the mouse doesn't change. You know, like when you hover over a link, it turns into the finger pointing. It didn't change. I couldn't click on anything. It was like an image. And I was like, what? And then I found the URL because I had tweeted or something, and the video had been removed. And I was like, they tried making me think that it was still there, or something like that happened. It was weird.
And there's a lot of dirty tricks that we don't even know. A lot of things happening behind the scenes that we're not even privy to, that they're implementing right now that we don't even know about. There's medical doctors, there's medical studies that are being censored and banned on big tech social media platforms. That's when you know they jumped the shark.
We're going to change all that, my friends, and I think we're winning. That's why I keep pointing out that Luke's on a billboard in Times Square. So is Ian, so is Michael Malice, because I was just like, we got to put people up on this to give a big middle finger to the establishment. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.